And the IWA Mid-South commentary team of him and I is a lot of the reason why I am the second chair at Shimmer Commentary. But I think the biggest motivating factor is, one, Prazek and I have good chemistry together, and two, it's women's athletes. He wanted a woman commentating. And with all the effort that I'm putting in and helping out, you know, I know the storylines, I help watch all the stuff, and, you know, it was just that mixed in with our previous experience together with Mid-South that kind of made it a no-brainer to put the two of us together to do the commentary. This way the commentary can be done in exactly the fashion we want it to be done. Make no mistake, I mean, without Prazek, Shimmer would never be here. I mean, he is the man behind it. He gives more than 100% of himself to that company. Everything he does with Shimmer in mind. Volume 1, Beth Phoenix and I. Volume 2, it was Rain versus I. And the stuff with Beth was really cool. You know, we know Melissa Mischief is gonna be crazy. We know Death Ray and Mercedes is gonna be very hard-hitting. And I just kind of looked at Beth and I go, Gaga? And she goes, Gaga. And I was like, yes. And then we looked at Dave and we both said Gaga. And Dave was like, all right.
Worked her way to the A to Z organization during late 2003 as well. Shoulder tackle by Danger. Step over. And again, I don't think Beth Phoenix realizes she's right next to you. Goes to drop the elbow, but Danger.
If we would have tried to do anything else, it would have looked like crap compared to what the other two matches were. For someone like Beth, for someone like myself, the smartest thing for us was to do Gaga. I mean, she's so charismatic, it's so easy for her. She's a funny individual. She can be a funny wrestler. She knows how to slow it down and go for the comic relief instead of, you know, the big moves and the power moves and the hard strikes.
Face lock. Standing switch, roll up by Beth Phoenix. Cradles the head. And that's three! Allison Danger with a pinfall out of nowhere! And Beth Phoenix completely taken off guard!
So that was a lot of fun, and it filled a niche that needed to be filled there. And then the next taping we did, it was myself versus Rain. That's where I debuted the Shimmering Warlock. Poor Eric Cannon had to sit there and watch that match by the monitor while I hit his finish. Went a little bit more strong style. We did a little different pace to that one, but it was pretty good.
Floor to try to regroup, but Rain with the baseball slide drop kick, taking the action onto the floor herself, and comes charging out of the corner with the running knee strike. Rain, drop kick to the leg, as you're down on one knee. Shimmering Warlock right upside the head. Danger with the cover. And that's three. Allison Danger scores the victory.
First taping went well. It's kind of, I don't want to say nerve-wracking, but you have to be prepared when you're in an environment where there's all sorts of girls in a locker room. You're going to expect some kind of cattiness. And so we both kind of kept our eyes out for that Shimmer, and we've never had that ever. It's one of the more pleasant locker rooms that you can be in. You don't have drama, you don't have backstabbing, you don't have politics. Everybody knows their place on the roster. And even if you're doing lower than mid-card, I mean, more recently, most of my stuff has been lower than mid-card. It's not a knock on me, it's just that niche that I gotta fill for right now, you know? Not everybody can main event, but there's no shame in opening. Just be glad you're a part of the company, and everybody there is. They just want to be a part of each taping. At Shimmer, the locker room is strictly for the girls. Nobody goes in there but the girls. Dave comes in, gives a pre-show speech. He doesn't come in till the okay's given that everyone's, you know, decent and everyone's prepared. Comes in, gives a quick speech. Outside of that, Dave doesn't come in the locker room. That's my job. My job is I'm the liaison between the locker room and Dave. Dave comes up, here's the lineup, this is what he wants, you know, gives it to me, I take it in, announce it to everybody, make sure everybody knows what's expected of them, and that's like the big thing that I do there. I'm the liaison between Dave and the girls. A night of tribute, the 6 days after Eddie Guerrero died. Eddie, when there was a time when he wasn't with WWE, came into Ring of Honor. And he worked with the SAT, he worked with Divine Storm, he worked with Red. I just remember him, in the few times that I met him at Ring of Honor, he was such a nice guy. And you wanted so bad for everything in his life to work out on a personal and professional level because he was such a nice guy. I mean, he's Eddie Guerrero. He's a legend in the business. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows his family. And, you know, he could have come in with this gigantic ego and we all would have bowed down to it. It would have been no big deal. But he came in so humble and so kind and, you know, posed with them belts and hung out with us and took pictures with us and told stories, and it was so cool to have him there. And I remember my mom had come to a Ring of Honor show where Eddie was there, and he just sat and chatted my mom up and, you know, had a really good conversation with her. And she walked out that night and she's like, Eddie Guerrero was one of the nicest wrestlers I've ever met. And, you know, he went back to WWE, everything was going well for him. And then you read on the internet that he's dead. Like, somebody IM'd me, and they're just like, Eddie's dead. And I'm like, what do you mean Eddie's dead? Like, we know a couple Eddies, and they're like, Eddie Guerrero, they just found him. And I was like, that's bullshit. I go, somebody's ribbing you. And then that's when it came across. Like, it was so sad. So when we did the next show after he passed away was Night of Tribute, and I remember just standing at ringside, and it was so sad. And one of the girls was there, and she knew Eddie, and she was just crying in my arms, and I just felt the sad. There was just such a sadness over the whole night. I beat Sumi. I became the World 1 North American champ. Didn't hold it all that long, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, if I remember that match, I had fun. It's Sumi, so it's so easy to do. Like, at this point, Sumi and I could get into the ring and just be like, see you in there. They don't even need to call anything. We just know each other so well, and we feel each other out, and it's easy working with Sumi. So I had a good time with that one. Shimmer 3 and 4. 3 was the debut of Rebecca Knox. I really, really, really lobbied to get her because I'd heard all these things about Rebecca. I knew Dave had big plans for her, and I had watched some of my brother and some old Chris Hamrick stuff, and I said to Dave, I go, Dave, I've got the perfect idea to set her up for her career at Shimmer. I was like, you have to trust me on this one. Give her to me. Dave's like, well, what's your idea? And I'm like, just trust me. I know what I'm doing. We're going to do something that you don't see in women's wrestling. Give her to me. And so I had the idea in my head. I talked to Rebecca. I go, this is what I want to do. And Rebecca goes, bloody brilliant. Let's do it. Bryce was familiar with what we were going to do. So Bryce was like, he's like, I have to be your ref. I'm like, yes, nobody else but Bryce, because Bryce knew exactly what that match needed, and he brought it so much. He brought 100%. And so we go in there and we do it. She goes up for the leapfrog, down, cries, she's injured. Oh my God.
Leapfrog. Whoa! And Rebecca Knox came right back down on her ankle there. Bryce Remsburg checking on her condition. Ow. It looks like we might have an injury on our hands. It's just a shame that this match had to end like this. An injury to the... What the hell was that?
And the whole crowd was just like, fuckers! Because you knew you got every single one of them. That was such a good feeling. And another great feeling about that match is, outside of that, in the very, very end, we had nothing else called. We went in there, two people who had never met each other up until that point, and we went 25 minutes. and she made it so easy for me.
Again, handful of hair. Cradles the leg. Falcon Arrow. And that's 3. Rebecca Knox with the Falcon Arrow pulls out the victory in her debut in Shimmer Women Athletes.
Next taping, Volume 4, myself versus Tiana Ringer. God bless her soul, I love Tiana. We sucked in that match. And I have to assume as much responsibility, if not more, for that one. I had just come back from wrestling Rebecca, 25 minutes, I'm a little tired, been up for a day or two trying to deal with the fact that the East Coast of America got hit with a really bad storm. I had to leave early to make it to Chicago, dealing with, trying to get 3 girls that can't even get out of their houses, trying to find a way to get them to the airport, to get on their flights. It was so stressful, and dealing with that, and then coming back and doing a match, and literally only having, I think, 20 minutes till I had to go back out again. And I know Tiana wanted so much to make that a good match, and she wanted to try so much stuff, and I felt bad because I kept shooting down ideas. I'm like, we didn't get to try it in the ring, I don't want to try it out there. And we got out there, didn't really have a game plan, and we weren't comfortable enough with each other that we could have just gone in there and did the things that Rebecca and I had just done. And so the match was and then at one point it started going downhill, and I just realized it was like a plane going down. You just wanted to get it over with, and we protect finishes, and when she hooked me, what she hooked me for was too similar to what Mercedes Martinez does for a finish, so I reversed it into a shoot small package and just finished it right there and went into the back. And it was a joke amongst David and I for the longest time that it was like the worst match in Shimmer history at that point. And there's definitely been much worse after that, but with a little bit of editing and stuff, and I felt so bad because I could just see all over Tiana's face, she felt bad, and she felt disappointed in the match, and I felt disappointed. I know I let her down, I let Dave down, and I let myself down, and fortunately the next time that her and I got to work together, it was much, much better. And I think it was just, she was nervous, I was tired, I was unbelievably stressed the day of that taping, and I couldn't give her or the fans or that match the focus it deserved, and so it wasn't as good of a match as I had hoped it would be. Me, Rain, Ramaru against Daisy, Mickey, Sumi. I went over on Sumi with a reversal of a schoolboy. I remember liking that match. I watched it a couple months ago. I think it was back in August or September I watched it. And I remember enjoying that match because we got to do something different. Quack gave us plenty of time, to put stuff together. Everything that we did told a story. Because at that point I had feuded a little bit with Daisy, I'd feuded a little bit with Sumi. The only thing that didn't make sense about it was that Ramaru was on our side. It should have been Mickey Knuckles was on our side because I think Mickey teamed with Ian that weekend. But Sumi had insisted that she wanted to work opposite Ramaru instead of teaming with her because those two know each other so well. They could pull out some really cool funky spots they've done, and they did. They had a really cool opening stuff that they did. And because I think it opened Mickey and I, then it went to Daisy Rain, then it went to Sumi, Ramaru, then it went to a couple different things. There was a dive in there, I believe, and I took some headbutts, gave a bunch of forearms, and we all just brought a little different of a style to it. And I thought it flowed really well. I liked it. I liked how the finish came out. I catch Sumi rolls me up, I roll her through in a quick little Skida reversal. yay me. And yeah, I liked it. People should watch that. That's a good match. I had such a blast teaming with Sweeney. And it was so funny because it was one of the few times I actually got to wrestle my brother. I think it might have been the first time I wrestled my brother. And I'd wrestled Sumi a million times. So a lot of it was just comedic value, total comedic value. I believe I was still the World 1 champ at this time. This was right before I lost it to Amazing Kong in Bay City, Michigan. And so Sweeney comes out, and there's feather boas everywhere, and strutting and dancing, and just generally goofing off. I think this wasn't long after I cut my hair pretty short, and that match was so funny. And I remember afterwards, my brother complained because I had to give him like a clothesline into the corner, and he comes to the back and he's like, "God, kid, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You're so stiff." I was like, "Are you really bitching that I'm stiff? You work in Japan. You work with Tanaka and Otani, and I'm the stiff one." And he's like, "You're stiff." So I think he's lying. The Melissa thing for Volume 5 was more of it was kind of like a throwaway match for us. It's not a match that had a lot of meaning. It was a match really setting up for the feud with her and Mischief to continue that. Mischief comes out during the match, doesn't really do anything, but it's enough of a distraction for Melissa to allow me to roll her up quick.
Against Lexi Fife on Volume 3, taking her attention off of her opponent in this match. Melissa turns around, goes back to work on Allison Danger here. But Danger, inside cradle, and a 3 count! A 3 count, Allison Danger just pinned cheerleader Melissa!
Next match, Volume 6. Want to say that was Pure Rules with Rebecca and I. What happened is on 5, Rebecca was using the ropes a lot, cheating on Daisy Hayes. I finally get pissed, leave the commentary table, come out, make the challenge. If you want to use it, we're going to go Pure Wrestling Rules. 3 rope breaks, and then ropes are in for anything. And we went, I think, 27 minutes. And she beat me. And that was setting up for future. We were going to set up an Iron Man match for her and Daisy. And unfortunately, it's about right before, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the next taping of 7 and 8 is when Rebecca got the bad head injury that has taken her out of wrestling since 2006. So, yeah, that really, really sucked because that was such a hot feud going on, the K-Nox versus me, K-Nox versus Daisy, and I'd really like to see it be renewed and let the fans get some kind of closure on that. But until Rebecca's healthy, you can't ask anything of her. I really enjoyed that match. I really enjoyed working with Tamira. That led into one of the bigger injuries I had. I had not a very good year. 2006, 2007, particularly 2006, it was just like an injury-prone year for me. Tamira and I wrestled. Everything's going great. We do a thing on the outside, and we have this idea of she's going to pull me through a metal folding chair and jump off the guardrail, double stomp my head. And I was like, all right, I can handle that. Problem is, when she jumped off the guardrail, she missed my head and landed on my stomach and tore my ab muscle off my rib cage. And instantaneously knocked the wind out of me. I was in excruciating pain, and I remember crawling along just trying to catch my breath, and she kept trying to pull me in the ring, and I kept slapping at her, just trying to get her away from me because all I wanted to do was breathe. And so she kept coming, I'd slap her, kept coming, I'd slap her. Finally, she realized something was wrong, so she just kind of put the boots to me on the outside, let me compose myself, tossed me in the ring. As soon as she got in the ring, kicked me in the face, blacked my eye. I was like, oh my God. For 3 weeks, I was completely black in my eye. And it was funny because where I was working for a day job, I hobbled into work like a few days later when I came back from San Francisco, and they looked at me, they're like, "What happened to your face?" And I said, "Japanese chick." And at that point, all my coworkers realized, okay. And they just asked no more questions. They're like, "Japanese chick." That's all the explanation that they needed. But I really enjoyed that match. I really enjoyed working with her. It was a bummer on, getting injured again. It was really frustrating. I had done so good in the beginning of my career, not getting injured. And then once I started wrestling more and changing my wrestling style, doing more of the Japanese style, man, I just ended up it's like one thing after another. So I started to get very frustrated with wrestling, and I started to get unhappy. And I wasn't bitter towards it, I was just bitter towards circumstances. And especially because a couple weeks after that match, I got to go back to Japan for the 3rd time. And I was going over for the Nanae Takahashi 10th anniversary wrestling, and that was pretty much the debut of Pro Wrestling Sun. And then the second night I was doing the Shinya Hashimoto Memorial Show, and everybody knows, Hashimoto was a very, very dear friend to my brother, was the boss, ran 01, all that. And he'd passed away a year before, and to be a part of his anniversary show was such an honor. And I was so bummed that I went over there and I couldn't give 100%. And the first match that I had in Japan, I had against Saki Mimura. My brother was my second, which was really cool. And I was very happy with that match. She gave some of the best German suplexes I ever had to take. Really easy to work with, really fun. Next night, myself, Panther Claw, Amazing Kong, REM against Natsuki Head, Nanae Takahashi, and Hikaru. Terrible match. I felt so bad. They got there late. They had an idea of what they wanted. Nanae is the vet. Told us what she wanted. Told us in Japanese. 2 of the 3 of us didn't speak any Japanese. I had a go-home spot prepared with Hikaru. Unfortunately, for me, in America, go-home's 1 minute. In Japan, it's 10. So here I thought we just had to go home, and here it was just 10 minutes of the match. Immediately in the match, I get jumped, they catch me, I end up taking a little bit of heat. Okay, no problem, just go with it, just take whatever they give me. Unfortunately, at one point, and this was something I didn't understand quite as much, the Japanese girls kind of assume when you go over there that you know what their moves are because they know each other's moves. So they know, without even saying anything, what to expect. And I didn't realize Hikaru did a lot of the frog splash stuff. And so at one point I find myself being held down. Hikaru goes up, hits the frog splash. But it was a heavy frog splash, and because of my injury, it hurt so bad, and I started yelling at Kong, "Kong, I fucked my ab up again. I need help. I need to get out. I need to get out." And she couldn't hear me, and I'm screaming her name. I'm like, "Kong, Kong, I gotta get out. Gotta tag out." And because I couldn't bear the idea, and she goes up for another one, and finally I fight free, tagged out, rolled to the floor. I was dead. And really, at that point, my stomach muscle was so messed up, I couldn't perform most of the basic moves. I couldn't do it. So I just took a bunch of heat on the outside, and the match ended up being terrible. I was the drizzling shits in it. I can't say it in any other way except that I sucked in that match. And I felt so bad. I apologized to everybody in the match. It was one of the few times that I ever nearly cried after a match. I was so disappointed with myself. I felt I let everybody down. I let my brother down. Apologized to every member in the male part of the locker room. I just apologized to everybody because I felt so genuinely bad that my second night, especially after having a good match the night before, that my second night was just so awful. I made the matches for that show. I was the matchmaker. Frankie had not had that much experience. She was very green, very new to wrestling, had been a manager for a while, was training to wrestle. So I took her. I wanted Tiana to get a chance to work with somebody like Karu. That's who she worked with. She worked with Karu. And I really wanted to see Tiana get that chance with her. I set it up that it was Mischief and Haley Hatred. Mischief went on. Then it became Karu over Tiana, myself over Frankie. We did Mischief over Haley. And the setup was the next round would be the winner of Mischief Haley versus the winner of Tiana Karu. So put Mischief and Karu together. Then it would be the winner of my match versus the winner of Melissa Daisy Hayes. And I knew I wanted Daisy to go very, very far. But at the same time, Melissa was a former winner, and she was having a big mixed tag the next night, so we had to keep her strong. So what we did was set it up that Karu would go over on Mischief, because Mischief had won, but Karu, you know, had a lot of experience, so there was no shame in losing to someone as experienced as Karu. What we did to explain the three-way was they went to a time limit draw, which means neither of them would go on. So I came out, being super heel me, grabbed the title, started taking pictures of myself with it at ringside, and openly mocked the fact that I was getting a bye into the second round. I go, I've got a bye. I'm in the main event. You know, Karu just went 15 minutes with Tiana. You know, her and Mischief are gonna go nuts. I go, either one of those two are gonna be tired as hell when I get them. You know, I'm your next chick fight winner. And so I heated the crowd up so much, and I pretty much spit in the faces of any member of management at Chick Fight, that they overturned it and said, since neither woman won, instead of me getting a bye because I was such an asshole about it, they were going to have both move on, and I'd have to beat one of them if I wanted to go on. And that's what the basis of was to that, because we wanted to keep Melissa strong going into her mixed tag the next night, and we wanted Daisy to move on. And with me, I lost nothing by losing. I lost no face. I mean, I was a heel.
Match, we just hope someone's taking a look at Melissa right now ringside. Oh, wow. Did we see that?
This could be it. This has got to be it. She's all tied up.
That is it. And even Daisy Hayes can't.
It didn't harm me not to win. I didn't, especially because I got to book it and make the matches. I didn't want to be in the finals. I didn't think that was right. I wanted it to be, because Daisy was on such a hot streak at that point. You know, everybody thought Karu was the sure one to win it, being that she was, you know, the Japanese veteran. And especially, like, that's another reason, like, with it Shimmer, you won't really see me in a main event. The idea of me being in a main event is going to be very rare, because I think when you have that position where you're booking a lot and you're making matches, between seeing me wrestle and seeing me commentate and stuff like that, to constantly see me in the main event would be overkill. So I felt it was better suited off for someone else anyway. And those two went on to have a hell of a match, you know, a better match than I would have had. So I was really glad to see them go on. Pretty much Sarah and I had been talking a lot. And I was like, you know, disillusioned with wrestling. I need to do something fresh. I need to do something new. We talked about the idea, and we had played around with the idea for a long time, that we really wanted her to move to the East Coast. It's like, I want you to hang out with me. You know, I have a room open. Come be my roommate, all that great stuff. I'd been bugging her for months. And then, you know, I decided to leave Pennsylvania, go down to North Carolina, try and just get my head straight. So we'd been talking a lot, and we were like, you know, we should be a tag team. We're like, yeah, what do we want to be? And like, we'd come up with two names. We were either going to be Death and Danger or Dangerous Angels. And I really like Dangerous Angels because it could be a heel name or a face name, where Death and Danger sounds more of like a heel team. And I said, well, you know, we'd probably end up being more of a baby face team, but let's go with something a little neutral. So talked to Prazak about it, talked to a couple other people. We ended up choosing to go with Dangerous Angels, combination of my name and her being the American Angel Sarah Del Rey. Pretty much that tag team, she's the talent, I'm the mouth. I'll cut the promos, I let her wrestle because she's a far superior wrestler to me, and she's a great finish, Royal Butterfly. Love that. I think it's such a creative and unique finish. So Dave decides, hey, we're going to bring in Natty Neidhart. We'll bring her in the night before. I set up with Danny Daniels, who runs Aw That's Wrestling. And they set up doing like a little Shimmer showcase. I think it was Daisy and Mischief did a little something on that match, on that show, and then the tag match. The tag match was fun because all four of us know each other. Like, that was the first time I met Natty, but I'd heard so much about her, and Natty had heard stuff about me. So the connection with her was instantaneous. You know, I knew Melissa well, I knew Death Ray well, and we just went in there and fucked off and had fun, and I got put in a sharpshooter, and it was great, and all this good stuff happened, and I believe I lost. I believe Melissa pinned me. I remember. She either pinned or made me tap. Something along those lines. But I didn't fare very well for our team. So that was a good time. Set up to the Shimmer taping the next day. I decided with Amber, I said, we're not going to do your usual match. We're going strong style. She was understandably nervous because she'd never done anything like that. She's used to working the old school Southern style. And I said, no. I go, I want to pull something completely different out of you that the fans would never expect. I want forearms, I want headbutts, I want chops. I was like, I just want to go in there and, you know, feel free to kick the shit out of me. Let's, you know, I'm miserable at this point. I'm frustrated with wrestling, frustrated with life in general. Went in there, and it was one of the best matches that Amber and I have ever had together. Amber, as nervous as she was, stepped up, you know, gave as good as she got, you know, hit me with some really good chops, hit me with some good forearms, and, you know, we did a different kind of finish, rolled her up, put her in a submission, got her to the tap. I was really, really pleased with that match. I actually liked that match better than the match I had with Lufisto. And I thought Lufisto did really, really good against Mercedes. Again, it was the same situation like with Tiana and I, where we didn't have time to talk about anything. By the time I got done my match, handled all my responsibilities, got through intermission, I go to the back and we go, okay, what do you want to do? We talked for 5 minutes, and then Dave goes, hey, get in Gorilla. And I'm like, no, we got 2 matches ahead of us. He goes, yeah, I forgot to tell you we changed the lineup order. I go, how can I be the last one to know? So we got bumped 2 matches ahead, so we went out there with no idea. And pretty much that's just us going in there and feeling each other out towards the end. And it's been pretty well documented that Lufisto was having back problems at the time. Something happened, and she lost feeling in one leg and couldn't run. It just wasn't safe for her to run, so, you know, 3/4 of the way through the match, we had to take it right back down to the mat.
And wrapping the legs around the body, she's looking to choke out Allison Danger here. Trying to relieve the pressure around her throat. Will she have to give it up? Danger, oh, there, she's got her, she's got her.